So what did you just say?
So I was saying that I think you could convince me on you could make 50 different points, and I think I might agree with all of them, and then still the broader argument I don't think that I could accept.
And your co-host who we're waiting for, he's a flat earther?
No, I don't know. I think he's a spherical earther as well. But we shall see.
Well, while we're waiting for him, let's just play a little game. You ready?
Okay.
We can see too far for the Earth to be 24,901 miles around. Your turn.
uh well, so
No. I don't need an explanation.
yeah,
I just
okay.
need
So that's
one thing that supports the ball. Just one.
wouldn't the pictures from uh satellites of a rotating Earth, of seeing the land masses move, indicate?
You know what? I got to add that to my picture, to my video presentation, because there are none. I mean, the stuff they show us, Cartman and Kyle laugh at it. All right, it's the worst thing ever. But there are no pictures. NASA even admits it. Why do people keep insisting on saying there's pictures of Earth? These are the two pictures from NASA. This one's the blue marble. This one they admit was made in Photoshop from strips of data. Not even images, just strips of data. Okay. Look at the size of the United States here. Look at the size here. It's ridiculous.
So isn't part of the issue like a perspective issue? So they're too close. Could it be that we're too close to get a good picture, right?
So this one, if you zoom in, you go in closer, we'd see the United States would look bigger because we're not really seeing the edge of the ball, right? That's where you're going with that, right? That is where you're going. I know your argument better than you do.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So to prove that's not the case, and as Zoom always jumbles up my the order of everything I have, we can't verify where these are taken from because we're not NASA. NASA can tell us anything they want, and we can't verify it. So how do we verify what we're seeing here? One, if you just look at the topography, look at the color. I mean, the color, you could say, all right, it changed, over the years, whatever, pollution. But when you look at the size of the United States on the one on the right, it's an impossible size. It's impossible. Look at how much of the globe it's taking over. And for Lord's sake, if I can't find that picture that I'm looking for, that'll show you as I'm just talking and looking. Here's your buddy, right? Here's Dan.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll keep going as Dan joins in. Here's one thing. If you're looking at that picture, I'm depicting how much of the world's landmass is on there. So you have to believe that the rest of all of that land, everything outside of that circle, is on the other side of that ball. That's just ridiculous to even fathom such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Oh, I agree, but I just think it's like if I took a picture in my front yard, my yard wouldn't look curved.
Well, but this isn't a photograph; it's a painting. This is a painting.
Oh, that okay. Oh, I thought that was the picture from Apollo 11.
No, that's not the picture. I'll just show you the picture from Apollo 11 in just a moment.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. Oh, here's the picture I'm looking for. So here's something we can verify. We can drive across Mexico, go across Baja Bay, and then go across Baja, and we could scientifically prove that's 934 miles. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
NASA tells us that the diameter, the diameter of the Earth is 7,917. That's a straight line through the Earth. That would be the diameter, not a curve or anything. So I should be able to fit 8.5 of these in between these two lines. But as you can see, 8.5 goes a little bit farther than the edge of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That proves, without any argument, that this is not a photograph of Earth. It just proves it. Okay.
Yeah, there definitely couldn't be an argument.
Talk about the picture from Apollo. Well, here it is. We pulled the picture right off their website. We brought it into Photoshop. We cranked up the levels, and watch what happens. We crank up the levels. This is off of NASA's website, And look, there's a box that appears around it showing that it was cut and pasted in. They didn't even make a PNG out of it and put it in. They cut a little box out and dropped it in and never realized that we'd have Photoshop and we'd be able to see through some photo forensics that is cut and pasted in. That is an unarguable point that photo is fake.
Where did the photo of the Earth
turn
come
your
from?
camera on.
I can't. I'm sorry. I don't have one. Me and Steve have been bickering.
You don't have a camera?
No, we've been bickering about this.
Now, Dan, what's your position? Do you think the Earth is flat or a globe?
I believe it's a globe.
Okay, so we're playing a little game. I started by saying flat Earth proof, which is we can see too far. The Earth is 24,901 miles around. A 6 foot tall person shouldn't be able to see farther than 3 miles. At the surface of the planet, and we could see magnitudes farther. With today's zoom optics and infrared, we can see for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and we can see things that should be miles below the curvature, but we can. So now I went to you guys, and you came up with Stephen came up with photos from space, but we just proved that they're not real. So still your turn.
But so do you prefer Dave or David?
Neither. Dave or Dave is fine.
Okay. So can we pause
Big
for
D.
I'll take that.
For a couple.
Did you hear? By the way, did you hit record yet?
We have not hit anything. No.
Okay.
So it's recording now.
So
I'm recording. I'll give you the recording if you want this part. But go ahead.
Okay. So we have not done anything yet. We recorded a little before Dan got in.
Hold on a second. You should keep recording. You just hit record and edit out what you don't want, because we usually do. I've done this a million times where we do the best stuff before someone hits record.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Go ahead.
So one of the things I wanted to get an idea of, because we have admittedly, or at least I have not done a ton of research outside of your Instagram on what your perspective is. So would you mind if I asked a quick question?
It's your show.
So what do you think that we are living on, and what do you think the surrounding celestial bodies are doing?
A lot to answer there. I'll answer as much as I can. We are not living on a disk floating in space. That's ridiculous. Okay. We're not a disk world flying in a heliocentric solar system. That's insane. Most globers believe that flat earthers believe that, and therefore they think flat earthers are crazy. And I would agree with them. If flat earthers actually thought this, they would be crazy. So what are we living on if it's not like that? We're living in what I call the world pond. It's just like a lake. All of the islands are surrounded by water, but all of the water needs a container. And that container is the shoreline of Antarctica. Antarctica is the shoreline of the world pond. It's the container of the world pond. 70% of the Earth or more is water. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. The water is testably, measurably flat. And when you get to Antarctica, we're not allowed to go even to Antarctica without a special permit, which takes us to this little peninsula. And then they give you a little tour. They show you some penguins and they kick you out. No one's allowed to explore this outer space here, this outer space across the Earth plane. What could be out there? Maybe there's more land out there. Maybe there's another sun out there. Maybe there's extra territory. Maybe extraterrestrials would live on that extra territory in the outer space. They always tell us what they're doing. They always tell us with the words that they cast spells on us with. There's a map that was found in Japan, in Hawaii, a Japanese map showing all of these extra continents beyond Antarctica. What's that about?
So, but I mean, we don't know that map is true.
Absolutely 100% correct. We don't need to go beyond where we're not allowed to go or above where we can reach to prove the Earth is flat. We can see too far. On a flat Earth, 24,901 miles around.
Sorry.
You got to shut down your other screen. I'm gonna kick your other guy out.
Okay. Did it stop?
Oh, now. And I kicked him out too. Oh boy.
Sorry, we're Luddites. I'm sure he'll try to get back.
All right, so we're gonna go. This camera is at 1 foot off the water. At 1 foot off the water, the horizon should be 1.2 miles away, according to your globe math. This rig, we know that it's 9.4 miles away, and there should be 59 feet of curvature. But not only is there not 59 feet of curvature, we can see the surface of the water for dozens of miles beyond it.
Okay.
He might not be able to get back in. I might have booted him like booted him hard.
Well, bummer. Okay. What should we do? How should we proceed?
What can you text him and see if he's able to get back in, or
Sure.
I might have to send a new link out. I might have booted him hard.
All right.
I didn't do it on purpose.
It's okay.
All right.
You came out like a rocket. We didn't even say hello before. I was
Listen,
before
I got this. You guys. We have a limited amount of time, so I'm just trying to get it done. I apologize for kicking him out. Let me stop this stream, and I'll send you. Who do I email it to? Do you the same?
You can just do a local Fatsos. He should be able to get.
Oh, here he's back. He's back. All right, okay. Good. Sorry about that. Sorry, man. Hold on, your audio hasn't connected yet. So make sure you select your correct microphone.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
I think I heard you.
You can hear me?
Yeah. There's a little lag, but that's all right. All right, go ahead. Your turn.
Well, so I mean, like I said, so I think that you're with the the picture that you just shared with us. So, and this is hard because this is an audio format.
It's speculation. I retract that. You asked me what I think it might be. I'm saying that's a possibility. Can't prove it. Don't need to prove it. We have plenty to prove right here below our feet.
So one of the things that I'm interested in is what would be the benefit to hoodwinking the larger population to thinking the Earth is flat? Who wins there?
Yeah, the people that are running the world, they win because they keep us as slaves. They have us one, not being able to access the more resources that there are, more land. That could be one thing, but the other thing is it's about control. If you are spinning out of control, lost in space, don't know who you are, where you are, think that an asteroid could take you out at any moment, think that we're running out of fossil fuels, which is nonsense. Think that nuclear bombs can blow us up, which is nonsense. Think that all of we're running out of food, running out of water, all of that's nonsense. You live in fear and you give away your natural free will. We all are born free. And then these people say, well, I'm in charge of you and you have to pay me 40% of whatever you make. And you have to obey our laws and you have to pay our fines and you have to stay in your home when we tell you to. And, and they regulate our food and all of this nonsense. And then you have to go to our public schools and we're going to indoctrinate you to be good little slaves. That's why, because if everyone knew what this place was and that we are at the center of creation and that we're not corkscrewing out of control, lost in space, then they'd lose control of us. That's all it's about is control.
Do you think there are people on those islands outside of Antarctica?
Well, there's a book that you should read, and there's also it's read. John the Morgal read it. It's on YouTube. It's called The Iron Republic. You could also find it in my app, and it's a great book. It's about I think it was a New York senator that was really fed up with the tyranny that was going on. When he retired, he got in a ship. He had a ship, money, crew, whatever. And he went to Antarctica and he found an opening in Antarctica that they were exploring. And they were going through this opening, sailing around for, a while. And then they came out into the ocean again and they were lost for a month. They were literally lost at sea. And let's say they were, they made it through this little opening here. And all of a sudden they were lost at sea. And after a month, they saw land. And as they approached the land, a boat came out. This is a story that he wrote in a series of articles in Florida Magazine in 1901, I think it was. Don't quote me on the date, but it's right around there. And he said that the people that greeted them said, hey, this is the Iron Republic. Where are you from? They're like, we're from America. They're like, where's the Iron Republic? And they said, well, the Iron Republic is on the other side of Antarctica, about the same distance America is from Antarctica. And they're like, what? And they went in and they saw this entire society there, that this is in the late 1800s that had that's when it was? Yeah, that's when it was. Electric cars, flat screens, stuff that they couldn't even describe what it was. Technology beyond where we have now. And they told them that in the 1600s, we think that people were, it's the Stone Age back then, the society was so far advanced beyond us that they were tired of the tyranny, and they defected, and they all went out to these outer lands. So the people that are running it now don't want that to happen again. So they've put us in a prison for our mind, and that prison is the globe. You can't put a fence around somebody and have them not want to go to the other side, no matter how big that fence is. But if you put them on a ball in infinite space, there's no other place to go.
So how are they able to communicate with the people? I mean,
Out there?
were they
I don't know.
Regular man? Were they?
No, they spoke English.
Okay.
They knew about America.
They came from America.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is like, it's kind of like they did like a Shackleton's voyage and kind of went.
Your voice is really low. If you can get closer to that mic, Dan, I can barely hear you. I mean, I can hear you, but it's really quiet. So
I did like a Shackleton's voyage in like Antarctica. Still quiet? Yeah.
you're freezing up a little bit. So the answer to the question is, maybe people are traveling in and out all the time that we just don't know about. Maybe the elite do, like Jim Carrey, John Kerry, not Jim Carrey, went to Antarctica on election day 2 elections ago. What's that about? Why did he go there? And when they go to Antarctica, are they really just going to Antarctica, or are they going to lands beyond Antarctica? We don't know, because it's off limits. That should raise some flags. I mean, there's when they discovered, started discovering Antarctica, immediately they created NASA. They started trying to blow holes in the firmament. They started, they found the dome. They had all these operations. And then all of a sudden they're like, Admiral Byrd went out there and said, hey, there's more land bigger than the United States beyond the poles. That's a problem on a ball, because how do you go beyond the poles? And that's filled with resources. Well, meanwhile, all the countries that are fighting over world resources decide to sign a treaty that no one could explore Antarctica. Nobody can even question the treaty until the year 2041. What's that about?
Maybe that is where Jim Carrey came from.
Maybe.
And that's why he was so electric.
Maybe.
He came from the Iron People.
Yeah, the Iron Republic.
The Iron Republic.
Do you think Game of Thrones is based on some islands out there?
I think that Game of Thrones is literally to control your mind, because the biggest line in that movie is when the little guy was up on the wall and said he wanted to piss off the end of the world. Remember? That was like the biggest line in the whole show. And it's because when you mention Ice Wall, everyone goes, oh, like the Game of Thrones? No, it's not like the Game of Thrones. The Ice Wall is just the shoreline of Antarctica. It's not a wall at the edge of a disc. It's the shoreline. This is the shoreline of Antarctica. And most of it is a wall. Some areas, there's probably some land that you can get on, but Antarctica is a frozen realm, part of our realm. And it's way bigger than our entire world, oceans and continents combined, in my opinion. How about this? Here's the entire Earth realm. Everything inside of this white circle here in the green is our known world. And then this entire circle where we have this magnetic center and the sun and the moon have melted this puddle, rotate around here every 25,000 years. That's called a great year. It's somewhere around 25,000 years. I'm rounding off. And so this melted puddle will, in 10,000 years will be over here. So this part will be melted out. And this part will be an ice age.
Where is this information coming from? Where's this picture?
This is a recent discovery of what we're seeing when we look at the moon. So if you want to learn this stuff, you don't learn it just having a quick conversation with me. You learn it by studying, watching the stuff, testing it yourself, measuring yourself. So this is a video that's in my app. I'll show you real quick where to find it, because this is a very, very important video. So this is my app, the FlatEarth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And if you hit the middle button on the right there, the web button, up comes all of these functions. And the middle right one says full length FlatEarth videos. You hit that, up comes a playlist. And at the very bottom of that playlist, it says 1 through 7, The Lost History of Flat Earth. 5-hour commitment. Okay. But I guarantee if you make it 90 minutes, you won't turn it off. It'll blow your mind. And when you're done, you're going to watch it again. Okay. So that's how you learn about it. That's how you learn what this is.
Okay.
So what other, like, let's keep going. Like, I like, someone, you said at the beginning, no matter what you tell me, I might agree with it, but I'm not going to believe that the earth is flat. So tell me why you believe the earth is a globe.
Well, it could just be at the very, very fundamental level. It was, it's the sheep. I think that there's a possibility that it would be hard for me to comprehend even what we could be on and what the sun is doing and how day changes.
Sure.
Like, I think that would be hard for me to understand.
Oh, the day changes. That's easy. Day, night, seasons. That only makes sense on a flat earth. I mean, the seasons and time zones make perfect sense on a flat earth. I could explain all that to you. But what doesn't make sense is the helio nonsensical ball model, where the official story is once upon a time there was nothing, and then it exploded and became everything. And then all of the rocky bits somehow got together, right? All of the rocks turned into planets. And then somehow all of the gases decided to turn into giant gas balls that were even more massive than the rocks. And they formed a vacuum in between them. How do you have a burning ball of gas in a vacuum? Okay, right? How come the gases didn't combine with the rocks? Right? It's all just pseudoscience bullshit. Okay, and we're just told to believe this stuff because a lying guy in a bow tie named Bill Nye told us. Okay.
Well, I guess the reason I believe so. I've never really looked into I haven't watched a 5-hour video about flat Earth.
Well, that one will do it.
My understanding is that the spherical one is explained by fewer rules, which makes it more likely to be true.
Well, okay, what rules? Can you name one rule that explains it?
Well, in terms of like why there's a vacuum and how all of these gaseous balls became spheres and like rotate around each other, that's all explained by one rule of gravity.
No. So yeah, one rule of gravity, which is a theory. They admit it's a theory, and it's so much of a theory that they have to make up dark matter and dark energy, which has never been seen. But they're like, gravity doesn't work unless 96% of the known universe is dark energy and dark matter, and because that fills in where the gravity equation falls out. So at best, gravity is 4% correct.
Incomplete model.
What's that?
Definitely incomplete.
It's incomplete. It's nonsensical. Think about this. This is called the 3-body problem. You can get the world's best supercomputer and say, all right, I got a sun, it's this big, it's got this much gravity, and I got a planet, and it's this small, and it goes around, you set them into orbit, they say you got this much gravity, and it works like a perfect timepiece. Introduce one other object, either a moon or another planet, and the entire thing goes into chaos mode and doesn't work and can never predict what's going to happen next. But if you go out tonight with all the billions of stars in our galaxy and all the planets and moons and everything, check them out where they are at a certain time tonight, next year, same night, same time, even though we're billions of miles away, corkscrewing through space, nothing changes. Every single star will be in the exact same position. The chances of a moon and a sun 400 times bigger, 400 times farther, eclipsing each other perfectly is 1 in infinity. Okay. And they happen all the time. And after that, did you know that the cycle of eclipses repeat every 18 years? Every 18 years, they do the same thing again and again and again. That's impossible in a beehive gravitational bullshit model.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they cycle, that would fit the model, but
how would it fit the model? You're just using words. You have to tell me how it would fit the model.
I don't even know what you just said about this. There's a picture of a sun and an earth, and like there's like 2 guys pulling a rope. Like,
I'm showing what happens when the moon comes around the earth. How come the earth's gravity holds on to the moon and the sun's gravity doesn't pull on the moon?
It does pull on the moon.
Oh, so when the moon comes back around this way, it slows down?
I mean, a very, very small amount.
No, it doesn't. You're making things up because They don't even
It's
say
called
that.
negligible. Like it's just not like it's not like mathematically relevant.
So the sun is able to hold on to the Earth and Mars and Saturn and Jupiter and Neptune and Pluto, but it can't hold on to the moon.
I mean, it is by means of the Earth. The Earth is just much closer, so it's orbiting the Earth. If the Earth wasn't there, it would orbit the sun.
But the sun is able to hold on to Pluto, which is magnitudes farther than the moon, but it can't hold on to the moon.
It is holding on to the moon.
No, it's not.
Isn't that why we
It
have
is. It's just that
tides?
the moon is affected
No,
by a much
moon has nothing to
closer
do with
object.
tides.
The sun and the moon both have to do with tides. They both pull on the water on the Earth.
So at a full moon, there's high tides, right? Higher tides.
I don't know the cycles of the moon, but it's like if the moon is on your
So-
side of the Earth, then it pulls the water towards you.
Yeah, so that's not true because when the moon is on one side, if there's a high tide there, there's another high tide on the other side of the Earth. Do you know what the official
I don't
story?
understand why. I've seen that though. That's part of the classic model.
So
that
so
we're arguing against,
here,
but I can't explain it.
here's the explanation. So you have the moon is like right here, and there's a high tide here, okay, and that's because the moon's gravity is pulling the water away from the Earth. But on the other side, there's a high tide over here also, and the official story is that the moon's gravity is pulling the Earth away from the water. That's nonsensical bullshit.
I've never heard that, but
Well,
it
that's
does
what
make sense.
I have because I've looked into
seems
it.
like a very high level version of whatever's actually happening.
Well,
I mean,
it seems like a high level of
fluid
high level of
dynamics is probably not
nonsense.
Easy to explain quickly.
Well, so here's the thing. If you want to look into what tides are, if you go into the app, you hit the frequently asked questions button and it says, "What about tides?" on the bottom here, up comes a video, a playlist of stuff that you never knew about tides and how they work electromagnetically, right? And how the sun and the moon are electromagnetic in their wakes, and how when there are bigger tides when the moon is full. Well, if it was a ball that was just being lit by the sun, it should have the same tides when there's a new moon because it's still there. The gravity's still there. It's just not shiny it doesn't have shiny sun on it. But when it's powered up, full moon, there's bigger tides. And then there's also what's called tidal nodes, where there's high tides, like high tide on one side of Australia and a low tide on the other side of Australia. That doesn't make any sense with the moon, right? You have to look at the tides. The tides are part of the living Earth, and it's not from the gravity of the moon. And if the moon could pull the tide, how come it doesn't pull the water right away from the Earth? If it can pull the tide, it's pulling it away from the Earth. How come it doesn't keep pulling it right off the Earth?
Do you think the moon creates its own light?
Yes.
Okay. And then it goes through a cycle of making light and not.
Right. It powers up and it powers down. You know, you can, you're out in the middle of nowhere, full moon, clear night, you can read by it, you can navigate by it. You don't need any lights. The moon will cast shadows on the ground because it's bright enough. You have to believe that this dusty, dirty ball, this light that I'm seeing right here, can travel 238,000 miles and look this bright. Okay. You do any calculations with the inverse square law of light. The moon would have to be is so friggin' bright. It'd have to be tens of millions of lumens for it to look this bright from Earth. And it's not. This is a lie. This is an actor-not. The moon is its own light. If it was lit by a single source, it would have a hot spot and the edges would be dimmer than the center.
But when you say this bright, do you mean like the picture that you're showing?
Well, I'm talking if you go out on a full moon night.
Very, very bright looking moon.
If you go out on a full moon night.
It looks like a flashlight.
If you go out on a full moon
night. Yeah, so it's a big bright. It's the brightest full moon you've ever seen.
If you go out on a full moon, if you go out on a full moon night, you can read a newspaper by it. It's casting your shadow on the ground. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So for it to be that bright, it would have to be millions of times brighter that far away for that amount of light to make it. Because every time you double the distance, a light is 1/4 of the brightness. Or every time you half the distance, it's 4 times as bright. That's called the inverse square law of light, right? Using that, when you're 100 miles away from the moon, it should be, I think it's 10 or 100 million lumens. It's so bright, it would melt your face, right? This is not a light that travels 238,000 miles that you can read by.
But I would say in both cases, when you're looking at those pictures, it's kind of the same argument that you made against that photo of the Earth, where you did the Photoshop settings and could show that it was fake. A lot of it is just photography. Like, it doesn't look wicked bright because it can't, because they need the resolution of the image to show through.
So you're saying that they've turned down the ISO or whether the aperture so much that something that's 10 million lumens looks like that picture I just showed you?
Yeah,
that's what you're saying
about photography, but they're essentially taking in whatever light makes sense to take in, so that you can see the actual image.
But there's a limit to how bright something can be and how dim you can make it. Okay, the light that would have to be there would be so blinding that there's no way you could see because your eyes would melt.
Okay, I mean, there's no way I can argue against that.
That's right, because it makes common sense.
You better damn well believe it.
Thank you. You better believe that, because there is no argument against that. I mean, if you study, actual science, you'll see that, these things make total sense.
But Dave, I think one of the things is how could we compete with your knowledge on the situation? So it would be hard for us to have a truly like wit for wit conversation on the matter with you, right? We're just a couple of bums.
Yeah, well, you have to do the research. I did the research. If the moon is 238,000 miles away, it should light up all of these clouds, but it's only lighting up the ones that are right next to it. And that's because those clouds are right next to it, right? The moon is close. The moon that we see isn't even a physical object. It's more of a reflection coming through the firmament. But again, these are things that are beyond our reach. But get a whole bunch of like cotton balls and say, okay, these are clouds, and put them on a table in a dark room and figure out how you can only light up just a small section of them and not the rest. And that is by bringing the light really close to the table. Really, really close, and only lighting up a few cotton balls. That's how those are lit. If you're in a perfectly dark room and you have a nice big circular table and pretend that's the Earth pond, then you get a light and hold it maybe a foot above that table, it's going to light up just a certain section of that table, and the rest of the table is going to be pitch black.
Okay, so the moon is, it seems like the moon, no matter where you stood, right? If there's like, clouds obscuring your view of the moon, it would look like, like the moon would light up the clouds that it was just behind and nothing else. So no matter where you stand on the Earth, that's true. So I guess what I'm wondering is, like, compared to how big the Earth is, like, how big is the flat Earth? And like, how high does that mean the moon has to be so that is always true? You know
how when you're driving in a car, it looks like the moon is following you, right?
Yeah.
Because it is, because you're seeing it in a position relative to yourself, like a reflection. If Dan, you and I were outside and we're 50 yards apart and we're looking at a giant mirror in front of us and the sun was setting behind us. Okay. And oops, what happened there? I had Steven go up with a Sharpie and say, okay, I see the sun right there. And he drew a circle around the sun. I'm like, yep, you got it right there. That's where I see the sun. And then he walked 50 yards over to where you were. He would draw another circle 50 yards away from my circle. So we're both looking at the same sun in two different positions. Okay. That's how I believe that we see the moon and the sun and the moon within our, what I call atmospheric dome of vision. Now it gets a little more complicated and we have some great videos on it. But if you look, each person, these are think of the, like, here's the East Coast and here's the West Coast. And the little point right here is where the sun is. So it's like 6 p.m. here and it's noon here and it's noon, 1 o'clock as the sun goes away. Watch as the sun comes back, right? When it's straight up, that's noon. Now it's noon there. Now it's noon there. Now it's noon here.
This is a high podcast visual.
Yeah, this is super visual, because we can talk about it, but you need to see the stuff and then you need to test it out yourself. So again,
So is that sun a disc? What is that?
No, it's like a focus point of light. What I think it is through the real firmament. It's like a focusing lens, like a magnifying glass. When you take a magnifying glass out in the sun and you're burning ants, it looks like a perfect little sun. It looks like the perfect, when you have that focused, it's like a perfect superheated point. I think that's a great analogy of how we see the sun in the sky.
Okay. But so what is it? Like what
It's
is
a
heating
focus.
it?
It's more like a Tesla coil. The sun electrifies all of the gases, and there's mostly nitrogen up there, so it's blue. And it there's daylight. There's a difference between sunlight and daylight. Sunlight is when you actually see the sun, and daylight is the sky fluorescing. So the sun is over here, and this is all daylight over here. But the people that are over here, are in nighttime. So here's a division of day and night. I think this is at 80,000 feet. And it just, light doesn't go forever. It stops.
Yeah, so that seems to line up with the model that like the majority of people believe now, that the light rays are hitting the atmosphere and they're changing blue basically. And then they bounce around and they fade out because they bounce.
No, I'm saying that they're actually electrifying it like a Tesla coil. Like when you bring a Tesla coil near a fluorescent bulb, it turns on. I'm like, it's actually electrifying the gases in the atmosphere. That's why you get all those colors when it's going away, going through different layers.
Oh, right, because that's how you explain like sunset, like how it changes colors.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And it all, and again, it's every viewer has a, from where you are, you have a different point of view. Like here's people say, look, the sun is setting below the horizon, but it's not. It's an optical thing because all of these clouds are merging into the horizon. But if I zoom in on this sun with today's optics, you'll see that there is a space below the sun and the horizon, and it's actually not setting. Okay. So if I could keep zooming in, I could keep seeing it. But this atmosphere, these clouds become opaque because all these clouds are just filling in, and then the sun will just go beyond it and get eclipsed. Like if I have, if this is the atmospheric deck of opacity and the sun just goes away, it looks like it's setting, but it's not. Right?
How do you define where that opaque?
It changes daily. It changes depending on where you are. The atmosphere gives us different different visibility. It hides things behind miraging.
Is this due to like an underlying scientific principle, or is this because it's like a conspiracy to keep us from understanding what's beyond Antarctica?
No, it's not a conspiracy. We're trying to explain what we're seeing, and the idea that we're falling around the sun in an infinite space vacuum is ridiculous. Here is a bay that doesn't have tides, and this is just over the day. You can see that not only does the beach disappear, the buildings disappear at times. This is all has to do, it's an atmospheric phenomena. It's not curvature of the earth, right? The land and the buildings disappear at sometimes, and it has to do with just the density of the air, the temperature of the air, the amount of particles in the air, and that's how we see, and that's provable.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm wondering is why does it happen at the same time that the sun sets every time?
Well, it doesn't happen at the same time. It depends on where you are. Like here's I believe this is in Africa. This is super sped up. The sun went down, 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 and it kind of just stopped, and it sat there, and it just sat there. This is sped up like 2,000%, and it just kept going away into the distance. And if there was more moisture in the air, it would look like it's setting behind that atmospheric deck of opacity. Here's another one that I filmed. And this is over dry land. The sun was up high, and in 5 minutes time, it went down, 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 down. If the earth was spinning, it would just keep on going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 down in 5 minutes, and then it stopped. And it just sat here for 10 minutes, right? And it's not going below this horizon. Now, it's not going, I'm not using a solar filter because if I did, you couldn't see it anymore, okay? Because it would block out the light, and it just fades away into the thickness. It never goes below. This isn't even the real horizon. This is the atmospheric deck of opacity, and it just disappears without going below. My friends at the beach saw the sun set bottom up 10 minutes earlier because they're looking across 10 miles of water where there's trees that are 200 feet tall, 150 feet tall on a hill, but the tops of those trees look like they're at their eye level because of perspective. So the sun, instead of going over those trees look like they're at eye level. So the sun looks like it's going down like that, and it sets.
Right. So you're basically, what you're saying is this is how the sun always sets. Like this video here is like the sun essentially disappears in the video.
No,
And you're saying
sometimes
it
it goes
always
behind an
does, but we
atmospheric deck. Here's another
right,
one.
and you're saying the atmospheric deck like change is just kind of based on air
Weather.
currents.
Absolutely,
Weather.
100%.
Okay. So
Changes
does
all the
that mean
time.
there's
I
like
mean, when's
an
the last
edge
time
to
you
the
saw a
world
sunset
where
like this?
uh, sun appears to be
The
shrinking?
sun is setting, and it's
It's
going
setting.
away.
It's
Like,
going.
looks like
It's going
the Millennium
away.
Falcon is flying away, is what it looks
It's
like.
going away,
Getting
and
smaller.
we're not spinning corkscrewing through space. The sun and the moon move over the Earth. They circle around the Earth, and when they get a certain distance away, you can't see it anymore. Its light can't make it to you.
So, do you think that the geocentric people were closer to being right than we are now, as a general society? Like, do you think that they were onto something where we are getting farther from the truth?
Well, we are really far from the truth, but everyone in the 1920s and 30s knew the Earth was flat.
You know what we'll have to do is do a Twitch stream of us watching this YouTube video. Because I feel like there's a lot of questions I want to ask that'll just be answered by that. And then we could come back to
The history video.
The history, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll watch it. I'll watch you guys watching that.
That'd be sweet. Give me some amount of time to figure out how to do that, because clearly my tech skills need some improvement.
Yeah, we have a hard time getting onto a Zoom meeting at this point.
Here, let me show you. This is an experiment I did that shows you how, excuse me, how the sun sets. So this line is a level line, and I'm moving my little sun across this line, filming it from a celestial point of view. This here could be mountains or the atmospheric deck of opacity, but I'm showing you that I'm not going below it. Now, on the other side of my counter, all the way over there where I started, I have a camera on the counter, a terrestrial point of view, looking up at that line. And if I showed you that first and said, is this line leveled? You'd say, no, it's not level. It's going down. Okay. But this line is level. This sun is level. And as it goes beyond this, it's really not below it. It looks like it's below it. And this looks like it's at eye level because it's far away. The top of Mount Everest looks like it's at eye level far away. This line is a level line. It kind of looks like it's almost going straight down. And here the sun goes beyond it. Now I'm going to compare it to a real sunset. Watch this sunset going straight away, and this sunset, a real sunset. But look, the sun is setting not here, but all the way up here. What is it going behind here? That's the atmospheric deck of opacity. I'll show you again. Okay. They both are doing the same thing. They're going away, and they're going behind the atmospheric deck of opacity. That's it. That's how we see the sunset. And when you watch this sunset from the beach, you don't see that difference between the atmospheric deck and the apparent horizon because it's too small to see. You can only zoom in on it and make it bigger again. That's why we could see it, because I zoomed in on it, right? Your eyes are playing tricks on you. You see in a circle. Everything in the distance all comes to one point. Even things on the far left, far right, up high, on the ground, they all come to a single point. That's how our eyes see.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of these cases are like, they're like optical arguments, like, because you're showing us it's kind of like the angle of the shot versus like the line.
I'm showing you how we see things, and you think the sun is going down, but it's going away. I'm showing you a perfect example of how that works.
Right.
Right?
When they shoot rockets up, do you think what are they doing with that? Like, what is that?
Like this rocket that went up the other day. Do you think this is a real rocket? This thing weighs a couple million pounds. Okay. And it's going to take off and
stainless steel now.
What's that?
Do you know that? They make the rockets out of stainless steel now.
That could look at this thing. You believe this is real?
It does look fake. The new SpaceX rockets. I mean, I follow SpaceX.
So look at these different cuts. Look at the sky, gray sky, right? Now look at this angle. Think about the angle of the camera. We got a side shot. Now we got this shot looking down.
Optical arguments, a lot of camera angle stuff, man.
I'm showing you that what they're showing us is complete and total bullshit. Now look, this thing is now not firing anymore. It's falling. It weighs probably 40 tons. It's falling out of the sky. How fast is it falling? You have anything to compare it to? Like this steam coming off of it? It's barely moving. This is the speed steam moves. This thing is now look how high it is. It's all of a sudden it's this high. And then all of a sudden they'll show you a side shot again. This thing is falling out of the sky without any power. And now it's up this high again.
I mean, like the scale of that, what they're pitching to us.
Now watch. Wait, watch. You got to watch this. Watch this. The 3 engines will light it turns over. Who got underneath it? All right. 2 of the engines will go out, and this little flame is going to stop this thing, which is barely moving. If you look at the smoke, it's barely moving, and it's going to land, and all of the CGI smoke is going to appear. Oh, there it is, CGI smoke. And
is this supposed to be a real video that you're showing us?
Thank you. Thank you. This was a real launch and landing at SpaceX.
That can't be real.
No, thank you. It's not real. And they say it's real. Here's another one. I call this the 2-pack rocket because it's a hologram. We actually were looking at pictures of NASA's lawn, and we saw these weird spotlights, and we saw the serial number on them, and we looked it up online from a holographic projection company. Okay. But sometimes with holographs, things go wrong, right? This went up, it happened, and immediately they took it offline, but we already downloaded it. Watch the top of the rocket. Ready? And boom. I'll zoom in on it so you can really see what's happening. Here it comes.
Disappeared.
Yeah, the top of the rocket gets
that's a projection issue. Okay, it's not real, right?
I mean, it could just be like the digitized image as well.
Those are just words. The digitized image doesn't take off just of this part of the rocket. Okay, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't make the rocket transparent. Okay. This is a hologram glitch, if that's the right word, a projection.
Yeah, I don't really know how digital imaging works, I guess.
But so there have been people who have gone down to Florida and seen so what were they seeing?
So most of the stuff that they see are blimps filled with helium. NASA owns all of the largest helium companies in the world and is the largest consumer of helium. This is a bouncy house, okay? This is a bouncy house. Now, if you Google space shuttle launch, they're going to show you this. Now, watch all these cuts. There it is. Looks like, it's not that far away, maybe a half a mile, whatever. They show you this. Okay, getting ready. This fence here is going to be able to withstand 30,000 mile an hour superheated winds, but that's fine. Then they show you these people. These people are not near the rocket. They're over 10 miles away, but they cut back and forth to make you think that they're right there. That rocket 10 miles away is like this big. You can't even see it. Okay. This is a helium balloon, right? When these engines start, this thing supposedly weighs 4 million pounds. It goes up and then down. You don't move 4 million pounds up and then down. Okay. This is a helium balloon. Now there is a little bit of thrust, but this is just a light show. This is just a smoke show. This thing is a balloon. It's going to roll around its back because the orange part is filled with helium and it's lighter. So it goes out to sea and then it's gone. Here's another thing. If you download this, you go on YouTube, just look up space shuttle launch. This video will come up. When it's 30 miles downrange, the external rockets break off and you can hear them. They go, and you see this big burst of smoke come out. Okay. On the video, you hear it at the same time that you see it. If it was only 20 miles downrange, you would not hear it for 90 seconds after you saw it. When these things come off, this thing is also, it's supposedly going over 17,000 miles an hour right now. When these things go off, how do these things fly sideways at 17,000 miles an hour? Watch, they come off and you're going to see the big spray. We hear it at the same time. That shows you NASA's full of shit. They're lying. There it goes. And you heard it. Now, these things can't fly sideways at 17,000 miles an hour. You know why? This thing's maybe going 25, 50 miles an hour. That's it. Okay. Maybe 50. I'll give it 50. This is a balloon. And this now is probably CGI at this point. Okay. It's all nonsense. And here.
Isn't it possible that they put the sound in for sex appeal? Like
that's a great excuse. Cool story. So this thing is a metal. It weighs, I think it's 20,000 pounds empty. It's falling out of the sky and it's going to burn up before it gets to these clouds. But watch right here. A little handkerchief blows by. Watch. It's coming in about 5 seconds. And that'll show you that there it goes. That shows you that this thing is just floating. It's not falling. It's floating. They're supposedly filming it from the shuttle, which is orbiting at over 17,000 miles an hour. This thing is moving sideways, falling back to Earth. What has he got, a zoom that's just zooming in at 1,000 miles of, feet a minute or whatever? It's falling at 1,000 miles an hour. This thing is not falling. Like it's filled with helium.
Unless the guy's like a genius.
You're just making up excuses that are nonsensical.
What do you mean? I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I'm just saying the only way to get that shot, given what they did, was to use some kind of like robot camera that's tracking it. You couldn't do that as a person for sure.
He's filming it by hand out the window.
20,000
He's
miles an
filming
hour.
it by hand out the window.
Let me ask you this. So over the last couple of years, we have in the last year, we have heard that UFOs, the government is acknowledging them. Do you think that we are do you think that we will get to a point in which it is formally acknowledged that the Earth is flat? Do you anticipate that ever happening in your lifetime, for example?
They will not admit it. We're going to have to force them to admit it, and they're going to flip the tables over before they allow that to happen. And they're doing it right now. They're literally, they're going to starve us out and shut down the power. They're trying all different things, and all of these stories about, the Pentagon's going to release the UFO documents and all of these sightings and all the mainstream news. That is all setting us up for what's called the fake alien invasion, and that they're going to use that to unite the world into a one world government. That's what Reagan pushed in his UN speech. He goes, all these wars are going on. He goes, if we were attacked by a force from outside of this world, we'd all forget our differences and we'd come together, right? That's what they want. They want us to come together, and then that's it. One world army, one world order, one world religion, one world control. And that's what they're trying to do right now. And that's what we're fighting to stop. But, the fake alien invasion is the last straw. Werner von Braun, the Nazi scientist that supposedly took over NASA, or the supposed Nazi scientist that did take over NASA, he said it, that's going to be the final card.
So you think the Earth is flat, but you don't believe in aliens?
I believe in extraterrestrials outside of the Earth realm, not aliens. I believe in humans that probably speak English better than I do.
Okay. And they're just outside of Antarctica, but
they're in the outer space.
Right.
The outer space.
Yes.
And so do they harbor contempt for us?
I don't think so. I think that I don't know. There could be, they could be disgusted with us. They could be so far advanced they think of that we're animals, or they could just be like waiting for us to figure it out on our own. Maybe they're just so much more advanced. They're waiting for us to, have our lessons, and we're learning some lessons. I mean, there's some craziness that's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years, beyond what you guys can even fathom. So get ready. It's coming.
How do you, do you think that the Earth is getting warmer, like the atmosphere?
No. They talk about global warming and the seas rising. They said by 1990, all of the seas are going to be, Florida's going to be underwater. And then they said, well, by the year 2000, and then by the year 2010. And I've lived in the same town for 57 years. I'm a windsurfer. I'm a kite surfer. I'm in the water all the time. I know where the rock walls are and the water is. Hasn't risen an inch in 57 years. Okay. So it's nonsense. They keep telling us we're going to be underwater. We're not. Now, there are places in the world that are sinking because of erosion, whatever it is, but it has nothing to do with the water with the water going up. And their whole story of Antarctica melting, right? And filling, making the earth, the oceans rise by 100 feet or something. How could this little island, if it all melted, it would raise the water maybe a half an inch? Okay. But they're not lying. If all of Antarctica melted, this water would rise by a couple 100 feet.
Because Antarctica,
right.
so for the
Antarctica is all of the
Antarctica
land that surrounds us. It's the container. You can't have a large body of water or even a medium body of water without a container. You can't have a bathtub filled with water without the bathtub. You can't have a pond without the edges of the pond. You can't have the world pond without the edges of the world pond. You guys are arguing. Wait,
How far across is Antarctica?
Say that again.
How far do you have to walk across Antarctica to get to the outer space?
Well, they don't let us even to Antarctica, and I don't know, 100 miles, 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, could be anything. But the thing is, nobody is allowed to explore out there. Nobody has circumnavigated north-south. Billions of people do it east-west all the time. 0 people have done it north-south. There was a pilot that he was called the ZQ pilot, I believe, and he was going to do the first North Polar circumnavigation. Okay. So we monitored this. We we followed it, and he started at the where is it? He started at the North Pole. Here we go. He started. This was his route: North Pole to Alaska, to California, to Hawaii, to the Philippines, over here to Santiago, and then he went to the South Pole. And he said the weather was so bad he had to turn around. So he came back, went up through Brazil, went over the East Coast, and back up here. And we're like, okay, well, he didn't get it. Well, guess what? Guinness Book gave him the world record for southern circumnavigation. Right? All he did was went here, touched the goalpost, turned around, and came back. That's like me saying I live on a straight road. I'm going to prove to you that it's a circle because I'm going to go that way and I'm going to end up over there. But I go there, I touch the pole at the end of the road, I turn around, I run to the other end, and then I come back here and I go, look, I circumnavigated my circular street. No, he didn't. He just went around the block. That's the course he took. That is not circumnavigation.
Like gave him a gold star for trying.
No, they gave him the world record for polar circumnavigation.
They did do that, but it sounds like he had to give up in Antarctica because he got rocked.
He could have been a bad navigator too.
No, he had to do that because you can't cross Antarctica.
Maybe the guy who gives those awards out like was having a bad day and just wanted to spite his boss.
Guys, do you guys know what Bitcoin is?
Yeah.
Do you know how much Bitcoin's worth?
It's like what?
40,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I'm offering 2 Bitcoins for 1 proof of the globe. And all you have to do is take the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app challenge. Every day, there's a new featured video on the clock. Watch it every day for 2 weeks. And at the end of that, if you have 1 proof of the globe, send it to me and you win 2 Bitcoins.
All right, now last question for me. Would that be how would you take that? If somebody sent you proof would there be proof that you could possibly digest, and would that
here's a simple way to prove the earth is a globe. 13,000 miles around, they tell us. Okay, take 2 airplanes right here. You guys each of you get on one of the planes each. I'm on a plane. I have flat earthers on some planes, scientists on each plane. One plane goes this way, just flies 1,000 feet, just hovering, just watching the coast all the way around. So everyone's looking out the left window. The other plane goes this way. Everyone looks out the right window, and you just make sure that you can see kind of how fast you're going because you can see the land. You can see the land. So, and 9 hours later, 6,500 miles later, both planes should meet over here. Well, it's not going to happen because you can't do it because that's not 13,000 miles around. It's closer to 60,000 miles. This was Captain Cook who tried to go around it, and it took him 3.5 years, and he went over 60,000 miles. 60,000 miles circling Antarctica, where the equator, which is the line halfway through here, is only 24,000 miles. He went 60,000 miles. That's because the earth is flat.
This is a lot to digest here.
Dude, it is, but your whole life has been a lie, and the quicker that you get over it, the faster you'll start seeing what this world is really about and taking your power back. Nobody has power over you except what's in your mind. The only power someone has over you is in your imagination. Well, so once you realize what this place is and who you are, then you can take it back, but it's really hard to make any proper decisions when you're spinning out of control, lost in space.
That's a strong finish.
Love it.
Take control of your life out there, you Fatsos.
Take control of your life, and whatever you do, don't let them control you with cartoons. Okay, they control our mind with friggin' silly cartoons, right?
But so just so for our podcast listeners, not Simpsons and Family Guy, but
Simpsons and Family Guy.
Really?
Oh okay. My God, the predictive programming in Simpsons and the Family Guy is insane. They're predicting so much. Just remember this: truth in the movies and television, lies in the news. Then you'll be fine. Okay? They're telling us and everything. The True Man Show. The Matrix is a friggin' documentary. Okay? At the beginning, Neo doesn't know who he is. He's spinning out of control. He's lost in space. He's depressed because he can't figure out what the hell's going on. And then he discovers who he is. He unplugs from the Matrix, spiritually or physically, whatever. And he takes his power back. He figures out who he is and the power of his mind. They don't want us to know that our minds create our world around us. Everything you two have in your life is because of the way you think, right? People People live paycheck to paycheck because that's the way they think. There's millionaires that make a fortune and then they're millions of dollars in debt, and then they're millionaires again, and then they're millions in debt because that's the way they think. There's other people that just their lives go the way they go because of the way they think. They don't want you to know that you have that power. They want you living in fear. They want you living in lack. They want you thinking that you're a powerless amoeba that evolved and grew eyes that can see color in faces and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's not a radical. That's not like a radical opinion. That you can make and shape your own world.
More than you know.
Yeah.
Guys, watch that video and pay attention when you're doing it. All right.
Well, thank you for coming on with us.
You can find me at theflatearthpodcast.com and check out the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Android, you need 8.0 or higher. And make sure it's the one by Blue Water Bay. It's the highest rated app in the Google Play Store. There's already a knockoff by the Flat Earth Society people, which are just controlled opposition. And Apple, iPad, and iPhone 6 or higher. It's $3, one-time charge. You're all set. There is a subscription thing if you want to subscribe, but you don't have to, and you still get everything.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate your time. Take care, man.
Thanks, man.
Bye.